And the manifestation process too is entirely dependent upon you following through on the creative impulses you receive. Because once you hold the image, once you focus on the goal, the desire, we've all heard we are supposed to let go of the how, because the how will be taken care of. But how will we be informed about the how? Remember, in most cases, this is not like a delivery service. Your goals and desires are not delivered and then there's a knock on the door and you open the door and there it is. No, it's like you actually need to move your body. You need to make the decisions, take the steps that move you closer to the desire, to the goal, on a path that you don't even know, because that is the how, the exact path. The exact roadmap is the how that you don't know. And the signposts of that roadmap are the creative impulses we receive as we are focused on the desired outcome. Hi everyone, this is the second video I'm filming today because I felt inspired to film a second video. And then I took a look into my notebook to find a topic for this video. Didn't find any. So I came to the conclusion, I guess I'm not filming a second video then, because I don't know what to talk about. But the hunch, the impulse to film a second video kept showing up. And the thought was still in my head, I'd really like to film a second video. And then the logical mind said, yeah, but you don't know what to talk about, so you won't do that. Until I realized, wait, ding, I know what to talk about. I am supposed to talk about right now about the importance of remembering to go after the creative impulse no matter what your logical mind says, no matter how far you can see ahead, no matter if you can see the impulse through to any perceived or probable end, or if you cannot see beyond the initial action at all. That doesn't matter. My impulse was to sit down and start talking. I did not know what the outcome was gonna be. I didn't know what the topic was gonna be, so I tried to talk myself out of it, out of the habit of not following the creative impulse if the outcome's unsure, if the steps aren't clear, the steps following the immediate impulse. But of course, I've been talking about creative impulses over and over again. Of course, the idea is to follow the alignment, to follow the inspiration, no matter the outcome. Not even if you knew what the outcome was going to be, but maybe you didn't like what it looked like, okay? And in this case, not even knowing what I was going to say. 5 minutes ago, when I was wondering whether I should actually follow the impulse and film a second video or not, that was a beautiful moment where I became aware of one of the mechanisms that leads in my personal life to me not following through on certain impulses. And that is something many people struggle with. Most people struggle with not even perceiving their creative impulses, not being into intuition and spirituality. But like in the spiritual community, what I see is that many people hear the voice of their intuition, feel what they'd love to do, and then still feel held back. In one of my earliest videos, years ago, just remembering it now, I said something like creative impulses being the smallest unit of motion. And that's the level I'd like to look at today. Because the big things you're procrastinating on, the big things, life areas, problems, blocks you feel stuck with in your life, they start with the small creative impulses that you either do not perceive at all or that you perceive and do not follow. Because your logical mind chimes in to tell you a story of why you'd rather not be doing that, of why it's safer to not follow the impulse, of why it would be ridiculous to follow the impulse, of why it's genuinely a bad idea to follow your intuition. And it's a phenomenon to have one foot deeply embedded in the spiritual realm, occasionally connected to your spirit guides, manifesting, all of these things, and one foot still stuck in the 3D logistics. And coming back to that smallest unit of motion, what any creative impulse, any nudge, any hunch, And the idea is we come back to the core issue many of us experience in not following through on the big desires, the big goals, on not living the big peace and ease and aligned in flow life on a daily basis. It's about the creative impulses. And this might be so specific to different life areas. So I want to invite you to notice for yourself in which life areas you are allowing creative impulses, in which life areas you just go with the flow, and in which life areas you are bracing yourself, you are stopping yourself, in which life areas your logical mind turns up the volume as soon as the creative impulses hit. I want to invite you to notice the life areas in which you feel like you don't even get any creative impulses, which often might not be true. What might be more accurate is that we might not be noticing the impulses because we are so up in our head, in our mind that is geared towards repetition, because we are so focused from the mind's perspective that is repeating the old thoughts, the old belief systems, the old behavioral patterns, the old coping strategies. The mind's perspective that is playing the same story, the same narrative, creating the same reality. And there comes a creative impulse telling you to do something completely different, out of the ordinary. And your logical mind might say, no, ain't gonna happen. Not gonna do that, not gonna risk that, stupid idea. Or it might be like, la 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 la. Anyway, what's for dinner? And you didn't even recognize the creative impulse. You couldn't even perceive it if it was in front of your face. That is something that can happen, and it happens on an unconscious level, obviously. And the moment we realize what is actually going on is the moment that we become more conscious, is the moment that we will begin to perceive more of the creative impulses. That's going to be the moment where we listen to our intuition and have it answer. That's going to be the moment where we listen to our intuition and actually hear and feel its voice, its presence, its resonance in our system, its resonance with our heart and truth and soul. That's the baseline, perceiving the creative impulses, and then the next invitation to follow through on them, even if you cannot see the outcome, even if you have no clue where that is going to lead you. Because not only are the creative impulses we receive the smallest unit of motion, they are also the smallest unit of motion in our manifestation processes. Remember, we are always manifesting, either unconsciously, usually from our default mode, from our default state, or consciously, creating consciously what we would like to experience in our lives, who we would like to be, who we would like to show up as in the reality, until the reality adjusts, until your self-concept adjusts. Wrong order. First, the self-concept adjusts, and then the reality reflects a different self-concept, a different higher level validated self-concept back to you. And the manifestation process too is entirely dependent upon you following through on the creative impulses you receive. Because once you hold the image, once you focus on the goal, the desire, we've all heard we are supposed to let go of the how, because the how will be taken care of. But how will we be informed about the how? Remember, in most cases, this is not like a delivery service. Your goals and desires are not delivered and then there's a knock on the door and you open the door and there it is. No, it's like you actually need to move your body. You need to make the decisions, take the steps that move you closer to the desire, to the goal, on a path that you don't even know, because that is the how, the exact path. The exact roadmap is the how that you don't know. And the signposts of that roadmap are the creative impulses we receive as we are focused on the desired outcome, on the goal. And then we get the hunch. And then we get the nudge to call that person, to change that route, to say that thing, to start that project, to move, to go on a vacation, to do something usually, often, completely out of the ordinary, that does not fit into the script of the old default identity frame we've been living from which we've been creating a default reality. The creative impulses are the most important steps. They are the nudges, the ideas telling you to take a certain step in a certain direction. And then your logical mind might tell you, but that direction doesn't make sense when you look at the goal. Whenever you think that it doesn't make sense, you have anticipated a subjective, limited, conditional idea of what the how might look like, which is usually, often, maybe always, informed by your system's safety setup. Your logical navigational system that many people, like most people on this planet, use to try to get to their goals and desires is going to calculate a route that is safe according to what you learned, what the conditions for safety are. That logically calculated route might or might not lead you to the desire or goal. It might look like the logical route to take. However, it might take longer. It might come with setbacks you didn't ask for. It might come with roadblocks and traffic jams. The route that our intuition's inner compass lays out for us might look like it was all over the place. It might look totally illogical in comparison to the logically calculated mind's route. It might lead us all over the place. And yet it might be the very shortcut to the goal, to the desire. And it requires you to follow through on any given creative impulse you receive. And if you end up not following a certain creative impulse, no problem. That is not a problem. Then you just follow the next creative impulse. The funny thing is about the path of least resistance that the way to get to the path of least resistance already is taking the path of least resistance. Which means the way to following the creative impulses, to listening to your intuition more, to manifesting more consciously, never is to beat yourself up, to criticize yourself about any of the decisions you made or didn't make 5 minutes ago, 1 day ago, 1 week ago, or a year ago. It's always your choice to choose now, because the next creative impulse is going to show up, because there are endless ways that your desire, that your goal can show up in your 3D reality ultimately. And you do not need to see the entire route, and you do not need to see through any creative impulse. The nudge is enough. And I can't believe how much this sounds like I have, obviously not prepared a script, because we all know what that sounded like until recently. No, but this sounds like, I just read 2 pages of inspiration about creative impulses. And of course I didn't, not a single sentence. I just knew, this is what I'm going to talk about now. Okay, cool. Here we go. Following my own personal nudges in the moment. Receiving the downloads. Saying into the camera whatever I receive. This is exactly how it works. And this video would not exist, and this message in this form with the downloads that came through right now, with the phrases as they came through right now, would not exist had I not sat down to film this video, because I let my logical mind win. That told me, but you don't know what you're supposed to talk about, so you better not film a second video. The creative impulse you perceive, that hunch is enough to go after it. It is all you need to know that it is a safe step to take. That is the safe path. When you are aligned with your nature, with your intuition, then the creative impulses that are going to come up are by nature going to be benevolent, safe, positive, aligned. They must lead to something beautiful by law. And that's so interesting, because when our logical mind interferes and tries to keep us from following through on a creative impulse, the intention behind that always is to keep us safe, to keep us in line with our own safe comfort zone standards. But the paradox thing is, the safe step to take is to follow the nudges. And again, whenever you do not follow the nudges, doesn't matter. It's okay. The point is that you have the power to choose now, to align now, to follow the next creative impulse now, to be open to receive the next creative impulse now. Just that openness, just that eagerness and curiosity is going to invite the next creative impulses. And the more creative impulses you follow, the more creative impulses are going to come up, the more breadcrumbs you're going to receive on the path of consciously manifesting your desires. And how that route made perfect sense and was in perfect alignment most often is only revealed in hindsight, when we look back. When we look back at all of these tiny little steps we took, all of the tiny nudges we followed, all over the place, left and right, whatever direction felt aligned in any given moment, that we understand, oh, this is how it all worked out. This is how that thing led to that thing, led to that thing. That's how we see the path. But in the now, the entire path can never be seen. It cannot be heard. It can only be felt in sight. The resonance you feel with any given step is an indication of the right path. And any time you choose in the now, not looking at the past, just in the now, choosing to follow the next creative impulse, you already are on the path of least resistance. And anytime you choose to follow a creative impulse, no matter what you did in the past, just focusing on the creative impulse you receive now, focusing on your openness to receive and follow the impulses now, that is the path of least resistance. You can access that path from any point in time in every now, now and now and now and now and now. And all that requires is a shift in frequency, releasing the expectations, releasing the mind's logistics from our embodied experience of now, and then following the feeling all over the place, always following the feeling, because there is no place, there's no space, there's no time, there's frequency. I'm so grateful that I chose to just sit down and start talking without knowing what I was going to say. What a beautiful result of having followed that creative impulse. What a beautiful invitation to stay on that path of least resistance and keep following the next creative impulses, the next nudges as they come up. And again, that's it for today. No intro, no outro, because it doesn't feel aligned, so I'm not gonna do it. And I'm just gonna wait for the creative impulses related to structuring my videos in a new way that might or might not come up. And until then, I'm gonna trust the nudges I feel. Please let me know in the comments what you took away from today's video and what is a creative impulse that you are choosing to follow right now. And until next time, have a beautiful day and week. Bye.